Yes, but that was
And the
perfect
scope-
sized.
And the scope was like this huge
Yeah.
shoulder-mounted deal.
God.
The Super Nintendo scope was obscene.
It just reminded me of something for some reason. I don't know why, but this might be before your time. They had a game called Elite on the ZX Spectrum.
No, before my time, but I know it because I grew up on that tech.
Okay,
I
and
had a ZX Spectrum.
They had this
I have.
anti-piracy measure called the lens lock, which was a prism that you put on the screen to read the actual code that was sort of obfuscated on the screen. So if you've probably not got a real version, you've probably got hacked version to take the lens lock shit out. But on the proper version, it had this thing called the lens lock, LENSLOK. There's a Wikipedia page because I just had to look it up because I couldn't remember its name. And it was an anti-piracy device, and it just didn't work. So they sold all these games that nobody could play. It was great. He's looking it up now and looking confused. The lens lock was such a bad idea. It wasn't before its time. It was just it should never existed at any time.
It didn't look at any code.
No,
It looked at what was on
physical.
screen.
It was physical, yeah. It was like
This
a
is what
2FA
HDMI
system.
should have. Not should have. This is what this wanted to be HDMI. Is what it is. It's DRM. But
Yeah.
It's trying to manage code visually
I don't know.
as
It
a
was just
human.
Insane. It was insane. It was ridiculous. And it was kind of wonderful in groupthink. They thought this would be a good idea.
Okay. Whoever pitched it, if they pitched it like this in the official Wikipedia entry, I don't know who or why anyone thought it was a good idea. Lens lock was released in 1985 as a plastic lens in a fold-away frame. The lens lock device was essentially a row of prisms arranged vertically in a plastic holder. Before a game had started, a 2-letter code was displayed on screen. That is not security. That is not DRM.
But it works because I could never play Elite. And I paid for the fucking thing. Oh, I'm being given letters by Katie. Thank you, Katie.
So, okay. One of the things, when I used to give talks, one of the questions I used to have was over consistency in design for design teams when everyone would ask for a different monitor. Things like color accuracy or pixel density or all those things that came into play. I'm like, I told them the shittiest answer, but it's the most accurate and best answer anyone will ever give you. And if you're a designer and you focus on these things and you design for the web, shame on you. You are designing for the populace, not for the pretentious. The populace does not have a 4K 250,000 hertz display with 99,000% coverage of the sRGB or DCI-P3 spectrum. You're looking at someone with probably a $200 monitor from Office Depot. Sorry, diatribe.
I'm just reading it wasn't used on later versions of Elite. I wonder why.
Probably because it was visually based. The API to develop such a thing on one video game at launch was already not a good idea, but probably terrible to implement and horrible for like any type of like cross-platform implementation.
I don't know if that was a technology before it's ahead of its. I don't know. A technology that should never have existed in time. Let's keep it at that.
Oh, I know technology that should never have been invented.
Most of it.
I don't know. Betamax was great. It was big.
Yeah.
LaserDisc, like we had like what, full HD? I mean, it was the size of a
DVD.
fucking record, but still.
LaserDisc wasn't full HD.
It totally was.
I don't know. I don't remember. So I'm not involved in this argument.
No, LaserDisc had the capacity to do it because it was so data dense because it was thick and it was laser written and read. Like you had DVD extras on a LaserDisc before DVD extras were a thing. Like this is how I know what This is how I watched the behind the scenes making of the scene from Terminator 2 that involved 2 Sarah Connors. So the woman who played Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, and her twin, and 1 Arnold Schwarzenegger revolving around the set because I saw it on LaserDisc. So the capacity was there for full HD.
I know Dave will answer no to this because I know it doesn't exist in Britain, but did America have Selectavision? The stylus red LaserDisc, basically. It was made by RCA.
Stylus?
It used a stylus. It used a diamond stylus to play video on a disc that you put in a sheath like LaserDisc. And every single old people's home in Eastern Canada had one of these. So you get billions of them. You get discs everywhere. You can buy a disc for like 10 cents or a box of 20 of them for $1 or something. I don't know. There's just so many of them.
That just sounds like a really pretentious record player.
The needles wore out, so they
were diamond, right?
Anymore. Yes, but they still wore out somehow. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, depending on what they're reading, like, diamonds are hard, but they're brittle.
RCA Selectavision was a great technology that was, I don't know, just the wrong time ever. It would never have been the right time, but it was a good idea in theory.
RCA
I want to know how it works.
He's looking at
I mean,
RCA Selectavision.
It works in the way that all things do, like information transmission does, that for some reason, like, we all can't understand. It's just bumps and grooves translates to signal, and the signal is basically a 1 and a 0. So turn thing on, turn thing on. That's all it is. That's how a record player works. The groove.
I understand. I fully understand how record, like, the transfer of sound from a record works. My granddad used to work for record quality control at EMI. So I've sat through many a lecture on that. But how you do that with digital footage?
My first hit was Movie Talk, the terrible CED video disc. That's not very nice, is it?
This thing was huge.
It was used a lot. It was enormous in old people's homes for some reason.
The discs look so cool. Like, it basically looks like if you took a CD drive out of a 1990s computer and made it like 4 times bigger. But this looks so cool.
It is cool. I've got hundreds of the discs, but I haven't got a player that works. Because
if you want to spend half a grand on one, apparently they're everywhere.
I mean, you can get them for a couple of dollars or free, but the needles don't work. One day they'll make a laser one.
I mean, you would need a team to like be able to like read the grooves that were already like carved in.
My AI can make me one. I'll send it a scan of the disc, high resolution scan of the disc, and say, "Play this, you bastard."
Okay, I need to know. I have a question for you, as both of you in tech.
Me, both.
Yeah, to make sure that I am kept on the plot here. I recently saw an interview with someone that is in internet security, and they said that right now AI is runaway tech that we just don't understand, and we don't understand how it works.
Fairly sure we do.
See, my opinion on this is we understand the technology it's written on. That technology has limitations. It is still 1s and 0s. It is still software that's housed in hardware. It is not a paradigm shifting, shaking, changing OS, language, or system that doesn't involve things turning on and off to work. And every iteration of AI needs to be updated, which means it's not really learning. It has learned a cycle of which we have to re-implement later. Am I dumb or very old to think, no, it is not runaway tech. We literally have to implement it to make it work still.
Me or you, Dave? I'll go.
You go first.
I can answer this one. One of the jobs I've been doing since I left is training AI in legal techniques. So I've been training one of the big 4 AIs in taking a case from person coming into your office saying, this is my case, I want to do this. So how do you advise them? And then how do you do the paperwork to submit it to the courts? How do you do negotiations pre-doing that? And just the whole step all the way through to the verdict and the after verdict. So there are people out there who are being paid quite a lot, because that pays quite well, because you need good lawyers to do that, to train AI in this sort of stuff. And that's the stuff they can't get from reading or stuff like that. So that's interesting. I enjoy doing that. And after, let's say, 3 months, I noticed it was getting better than me. When I was asking it questions saying, you're a senior lawyer in my law firm, I've just bought you this contract case, read this contract and tell me what's wrong with it. It would spot things I wouldn't. It was better than me already. And that was 3 months. So I think that's why people are saying it's running away, not because they don't understand it, but because it's going a lot quicker than they think it is. And even I, as a trainer, are looking at this and saying, shit, that's better than me. No lawyers are going to have jobs if this carries on doing this in the next 2 years, because they're just better. I mean, most lawyers just do rote work. They sit in their office doing the same contract stuff, writing the same contracts. And I would be pretty happy for an AI to write a contract now. I'd want to look at it, but looking at it takes 15 minutes. Writing it takes 4 days for a good contract. So that's a lawyer out of a job.
It's a lawyer out of a job, but is it tech that we just are afraid of getting away? Or is it still rooted in, not rudimentary, it's complex, but a series of equations telling it what to learn and how?
Kind of, but it's getting better. It's not just an LLM anymore. It's not predicting the next word. It's got things in there now to add to that. So LLMs traditionally couldn't do mathematics. They were shit at it. But now if it spots it's a maths question, it's switching to a completely different model. It's not doing next word prediction. It's actually doing a maths algorithm on it. So it's getting better, and it's getting scary. The only reason I say it's getting scary, I'm pro AI. I'm one of the few people I know in my industry who are actually optimistic about AI. But, and this is the only time I will ever agree with Elon Musk in my whole life, I think we need universal basic income, because this is going to make so many people unemployed, if it works well, that we can't replace everybody with robots and AIs unless there's a fallback. Otherwise, it'll just be a revolution.
Things happen too fast for humans sometimes, and we can't wrap our heads, so we can't adjust or adapt. Universal basic income should be a thing, but also motivation for doing something with that needs to be there too. And I don't know how that should take place, but for example, when I edit a video or when I code or something like that, AI is tremendous in a lot of regards, and it could be a lot better in other regards for menial tasks, time consuming, low effort, high attention to detail tasks. It doesn't take a lot of effort to scrub through and look for silences or repeats or bad takes. It is an algorithm if you know how to look for them. And that's what experience is. Experience is like the definition of an algorithm. How you take in something that's happened before and whether or not it happened in the same exact way and how to deal with it. That is an algorithm. If that can be done, then I, as an editor, have more creative tasks. That motivates me to spend more time on motion graphics. That gives me more time to make Simon's head look different on this woman's body. Things like that, right? Like, I am pro AI in removing unnecessary things for us to advance. Now, if it advances past that, I'm not scared, but more optimistic about us adjusting to what it is that we need to do as a species to elevate ourselves, to kind of push us to the point where it's like, oh, okay, now whatever AI is doing is a menial task again, like re-elevating that bar so that AI's bar should get higher, and then we just push up and up and up. That's my optimism on it. Unfortunately, a lot of people just make naked pictures of other people that shouldn't be naked.
That's true. The fact that me as a raving Trotskyite and Elon Musk as a raving right-winger agree on this one point is actually quite astonishing, because we're coming at it from different angles. He wants to robotize the workforce, but he also knows that an unemployed workforce is going to create Luddites. So
Luddites get a bad rap.
they do. But...
Like, you're taking someone from a generation that wasn't well educated, doing something the well educated didn't want to do. If you educated them to do that job, they probably would have done it fucking better. And when technology came along, they probably would have serviced those things better and done better. And things moved along at a better pace. Universal income, 90% shot, would have facilitated such a thing. My opinion, of course. But like...
For 10 seconds, I was optimistic that Carney might start talking about universal basic income, because economists love UBI, but he didn't. So we're still screwed.
I think the problem with the idea of universal income is kind of what you covered there, Julian, is where's the motivation for the species to even continue is going to be gone for a lot of people.
Boredom is good. The pandemic taught me this. Like, I learned how to do a lot of things because I was fucking bored.
Yeah, but look at the other side. Domestic violence increases, alcoholism increased.
It hasn't with universal basic income.
Yeah,
that
domestic
is
violence is actually better because people can be independent.
In the pandemic, when people were bored.
Yeah.
No, that happened. That happened when people were not bored. That happened when people did not have a source of income anymore because their businesses or their jobs cut hours or laid them off. That's an economic issue. So there are more than my two hands worth of studies have done on tribes, economics, and financial paradigms in which sustainability of living was not a worry. It was removed. And a lot of things changed. People tended to do things more creatively. They would invent. They would seek out opportunities to be better, whatever better is in terms of that population standard. Where things like aggression, economic concern, or rather, not economic concern, that's removed from this, societal concerns, all of those are tended to be rooted around something like money or a worry that something isn't there anymore. Like the famous rat study of like, oh, we gave rats, like these 10 rats, UBI, for example, and then like it became a dystopia within like a month. Well, the thing they didn't tell you about that is like they were worried about space. There was a finite amount of space available. There was a finite amount of females presented. There was a finite amount of resources that were outside of the scope of the project, in there, right? So the studies that were done that says that like, oh, during the pandemic, domestic abuse went up. Well, fuck yeah, dude. Like people come home and they're stressed about money because they can't like get more hours at their job or their job shut down are going to piss them off. And when you're already on edge, anything else sends you over the edge. But if you bubble that, you put them in a situation where, hey, you know what? You don't have a job anymore, but don't worry about it. You have enough for your bills and you have enough for food and you have enough for utilities. Basic things to survive and live moderately comfortably. Not like exorbitant or luxurious, but you're not going to be sleeping under a bridge. Generally speaking, they will seek out other opportunities with that spare time to make more money so that they could afford luxuries, not basics. Basics, you take any of the things from Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the lower tiers away, that's when aggression starts. So many studies have been done about this. And that's why Maslow's hierarchy of needs is still one of the things that is not deprecated that was done so long ago. Sorry, diatribe.
Good psychologist there.
Maslow was ahead of his time.
He was.
Sigmund Freud, I don't know how he entered, but like he kind of got some things right, but then like a penis came into the mix and it's like it fucked everything up.
Freud was a bit weird. And Jung was a bit weird. Which is weird because when I was doing psychology, we used to switch between Freud and Jung. It became popular every 3 years. It won't switch. And now Freud and Jung are pretty much ignored as far as I can tell in teaching. Okay. I know. It seems a choice between penises and woo-woo. I've got no idea what they teach in modern psychology, so I've given up with that. My daughter's a psychologist. I should ask her.
The DSM-5 is wild.
I've not read it yet. One of the best articles ever about me was my review on the DSM-4 in Amazon, actually. It was in Psychology Today or something.
The DSM-4 was great.
I did a review on the DSM-4, and it was about carrying a handbag to dinner parties and diagnosing your friends. As
or
a party game.
this is a more sociological thing, but like psych plays heavily, or just stand in an elevator backward. Like just face the wall. People go nuts. It's a great thing.
I should try it.
I mean, Dave doesn't know if he is facing the right wall sometimes, because sometimes elevators have 2 doors on both sides.
Are you trained as a psychologist? Was your thing in psychology?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, no, I took many years of it and realized that I could go 2 routes. Professor or a first-year philosophy student at 27.
Oh, God.
So yes. I went the route of tech design, but at least I chose a field where psych does play a heavy role.
Because I was a social psychologist, which I always tell people is the dirty side of psychology. We just torture people and then write it down. B.F.
Skinner did amazing work. He promotes a lot of good parental techniques, but a Skinner box is probably not something that should ever be around anymore.
And I'm actually a big fan of Milgram, because if you actually read Milgram's stuff, he's very anti-Vietnam War.
Do you know of Pirate Software's Thor?
No.
Look him up on YouTube. He was a former Blizzard dev. His father was, I think, director of cinematics for Blizzard. He talked a lot about this because he was actually an offensive security specialist.
Okay.
And a lot of what he says vibes with my experience, because like when your weakest link isn't a bunch of servers, it's a pile of meat that can be bribed or tricked. That's relatively easy.
I was going to say that's one of the weirdest wiki pages I've ever seen, but I just noticed it wasn't proper wiki, it was Pirate Software wiki.
Yeah.
But that's a very weird wiki page. I'll read it later. Something I don't need to know at the moment. Dave, say something. You've been quiet.
No, it's psych is not my field, so I'm happy to learn. That's fine. No,
I'm a bad psychologist. We just sell tobacco. That's all. That's all social psychologists do.
Either that or lie a lot, effectively.
We lie a lot too. Yeah, that's the reason I got out of it. I'm not good at lying.
See, that's the thing, though. That makes you a great social psychologist in terms of analytics.
Yes, but not the actual presentation of this stuff.
Well, I mean, not all of us can be the CEO of Apple. So
go on.
Here's an advancement in tech that we talked about initially, but like deviate away from, but we'll round back to. And it's related to like the web development of things becoming like software, like Chromium wrappers. Always online. New Windows 11 cannot be installed without Windows Online. Is that more secure?
But yeah. I take all the online stuff out of my Windows 11, but
pretty soon
you can't get rid of everything. And no, you still can't get rid of everything.
Is this going to be the year of the Linux PC?
I don't know.
System 76 has been around for like 15 years now.
Been saying it's going to be the year of Linux since 1998. And I'm sure people were saying it before that.
I hate Linux.
Linus Torvalds?
I hate this operating system. This would take a long time, but I wrote a big rant about it. I don't understand. Unix is the same age as me, and I'm 57. And we should not be using an operating system that's 57 years old, because I know how my brain is. So, I mean, I know how the fuck Unix is. We should be inventing new shit. And generations of people are putting effort into making Unix a little teeny bit better, rather than sitting down and saying, what's all the good shit about all the other operating systems? What's Primos's ring method? What's VMS's security method? What's all that stuff? And just making a new operating system that incorporates all this good shit from the old virtual machines. Look at IBM, look at MVS, look at CPM. All brilliant stuff. And why isn't anybody inventing that from scratch rather than working on a 57 fucking year old operating system?
Mr.
Sorry,
Lawrie?
that was a rant. Yes.
x86 is still around.
I know,
that's why.
But that's not an excuse. You can't point at something else and say that's still around.
No, we totally can here. Okay, so
I know.
how
See a new operating system.
how a base system operates and how it transfers things between different components on hardware does matter in terms of computing. If none of it is open source, everything is licensed, that will stifle our innovation, because we're based off of the economy of billionaires making more money versus innovating. So things like RISC will take a very long time to take hold. Yeah, I see you laugh at RISC too. I thought I was the only one, because everyone's like, the RISC PC is good. Like, no, it's not.
It's quite popular now.
No. It's popular in enthusiast circles.
Yeah,
That's like saying everyone has a soldering iron. No! Folks who like to
Digital
fix
made
and build
RISC,
shit
well.
have one.
I mean, I still miss things from PDP-10 operating systems
Oh,
that
God.
nobody's reinvented yet. I mean, process privileges, where a process is running and it's allowed its own privileges within that process running. Why the fuck doesn't that exist anymore?
Because not everyone's a security engineer, but you will pay attention to that because that's important. It's kind of, so here's something I take for granted that I think we all take for granted now, but if we go back like 6 years, it wasn't there. Did you know that you can just operate a terminal from any folder now in Windows? Just right click, open terminal here instead of CDing into the folder.
I do. I use that all the time now.
Same. But imagine if that little bit of experience design was everywhere on every platform, because I cannot do this on a Mac.
No. It's brilliant. It's amazing because all these fucking file names now have spaces in them and it takes so long to CD to something that's got...
PowerShell? Anything that has a space, if it's inside the quotes, it'll escape properly?
I've never used PowerShell in my life yet.
PowerShell is actually pretty good, in my opinion, for like a shell replacement on Windows.
But I did get AI GPT-4 to write me a beautiful batch script on Windows a few weeks ago.
What did it do?
It took me a while. There's a big... I needed to search 10 years of screenshots. So in multiple directories. So what I was doing was I was making it create a text file of the scans of each screenshot in that directory and just multiply them and put the title at the top. And it did a really good job on that. I mean, I had to fix it, but it did a good job creating the basic script. So now I can search using Windows Search for things within image files.
That's helpful.
Do you think Windows, ChatGPT can write in hex?
I don't know. Try it.
I've been trying to train my own. So I haven't been keeping up with like ChatGPT's stuff, but like
I think it can.
I've been training a few things back there. But I was thinking like the web isn't safe anymore, images aren't safe anymore, censorship isn't safe anymore. If it can write hex,
Nothing's much safe anymore.
fuck.
I don't want
crazy.
to be I don't want to be an AI evangelist, but I'm not very impressible. It manages to impress me every couple of weeks, and that's scary. I mean, I'm scared of that because we haven't got UBI, we haven't got this social background or net for people, thousands. I mean, I can't get a job anymore because the US suddenly decided to lay off all the FBI and CIA analysts, and that's basically my job. And I'm 50 something, and I'm not going to get a job in that when there's 3,000 CIA people queuing up for the same job.
Mr. Lawrie, I drop
Yes,
boxes on a screen for a living.
Yes.
Do you think
I'm
it's easy
sorry.
for me to find a gig right now when Twitter, Google, Facebook, Apple, and those are just the big four in the Bay Area, are laying folks off?
I just treat it as a joke these days. I apply for things with. I like to see how quickly they reject me. I can place bets on it. It's quite fun.
Like, I genuinely
At
think
least
like
you're
80%
still
of like tech
qualified
jobs out there are posted for internal movement.
I think they are.
At least you're
Labour
still
says-
qualified enough to get a rejection letter.
I kind of am not. I mean, I've killed my prospects of employment in any online stuff anymore. So I have to go back to security, and security, unfortunately, I'm not that good at anymore because I'm 15 years behind, 20 years behind.
Well, luckily
So,
for you, the tech that all security is based off now is like 56 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, my first book I wrote on security was basically about castles, medieval castles, because medieval castles are fascinating because they had to be able to cope with this castle that was presenting a massive battlefield structure that was protected, but also having a town inside it that people could come and go from.
Well, that's a perfect analogy, especially for cybersec. Like, you know, like the best version of pen testing now is a Swiss cheese, right? Like everything is going to be a filter out upon a filter. Just add as many filters as you can. The more holes there are that are offset, the more chances are that people won't be able to get through them, right?
And castles are fascinating. I could,
Archer holes.
That's a whole nother podcast. I can go on about medieval castles for years. I also visited an awful lot of them to see how they did certain protections. That was interesting. I enjoyed that. I really should rewrite that book. No, you can do it in Wales. You just have to walk 10 feet and you get to another one.
Wait, is the UK really like that? Like, as an American, like, can you just walk down the street and like,
Hang on a minute. Alexa, how many castles are in the UK?
From kayak.com.
Did it tell you go search?
Castles spread across the UK.
Over 5,000 castles spread across the UK.
That's a lot. He's looking confused now. There's a lot of castles, especially in Wales.
The UK is tiny.
I bet half of those are in Wales.
How do you have
Alexa,
5,000 castles?
How many castles are in Wales?
Here's something I found on wikipedia.org. Wales has over 600 castles.
600.
That's not many.
But Wales is
I would
small
say
too.
more.
How do you have 600 castles in Wales?
Edward the First or whatever it was the second. I don't know. One of them. I think it was one of the Edwards. Maybe it was a Henry.
Okay, the US is huge, but if we have like 5,000 like White Houses, that would take up a lot of. How do you have that many castles?
They don't have to be huge.
Yeah,
They're bigger than a mansion.
I need to go to the loo if you're going to carry on.